What if I told you that words written over 2,500 years ago are coming true right now, right in front of our eyes, and most people don't even notice it? Stick with me until the end, because today we're going to talk about 5 biblical prophecies that aren't just predictions anymore. They're happening in real life. For centuries, one question has echoed among people. Are we living in the last days? The Bible has answers. It's packed with signs, symbols, and revelations that reveal where humanity is headed. And out of all, the holy books, one stands out as a real prophetic roadmap: the book of Daniel. Daniel wasn't just a guy who interpreted dreams. He was a prophet who got visions straight from God about kingdoms, kings, and the end times. Today, we're diving into 5 of these prophecies. Some have already come true with mind-blowing accuracy, and others are playing out right now. Daniel was not just a prophet. He was a statesman, an advisor to kings, a man who lived among Babylonian royalty while his people were in exile. Through him, God revealed an outline of world history with a precision that defies any natural explanation. Think about it. Hundreds of years before the events took place, Daniel described in detail the rise and fall of empires that didn't even exist in his time. What makes the book of Daniel so extraordinary is that many of its prophecies have already come true with astonishing accuracy. He predicted the rise of the Persian Empire, followed by the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great, and then the Roman Empire. Every detail came to pass exactly as described, establishing a pattern of reliability that allows us to seriously consider the prophecies that remain unfulfilled. But here's the crucial point for us today. Daniel didn't just speak about the distant past. His visions stretch into our present and beyond. In chapter 2, he interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream about a great statue with a head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron mixed with clay. Each part represented a world kingdom, and we are living in the time of the feet, the final period before the stone, the kingdom of God, strikes the statue. Look at the world today. We see exactly what Daniel described as the final age. A futile, attempted unity that never fully solidifies, like iron and clay that do not mix. Global alliances form and dissolve. World powers seek unity but remain fundamentally divided. This is not just coincidence. It is prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. What makes this even more impressive is that Daniel was instructed to seal the book until the time of the end. Daniel 12:4. Many of these prophecies remain partially obscure for centuries, but now, with the benefit of history and current events, we can clearly see what was once unclear. It's as if a veil is being lifted specifically for our generation. And here's the question we must ask ourselves. If past prophecies have been fulfilled with such precision, what does that tell us about those yet to come? If Daniel was right about empires that rose centuries after his death, shouldn't we pay close attention to what he says about our time? The prophetic clock is ticking and the hands are nearing midnight. Are you paying attention to the signs? In chapter 9 of Daniel, we find one of the most precise and extraordinary prophecies in the entire Bible, the prophecy of the 70 weeks. As Daniel fervently prayed for the restoration of Jerusalem, the angel Gabriel appeared with a revelation that transcends time. 70 weeks are determined for your people and your holy city. Daniel 9:24. These were not literal weeks, but weeks of years, a total of 490 years divided into specific periods. What's astonishing is that this prophecy mathematically predicted the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, counting from the decree of Artaxerxes to rebuild Jerusalem in 457 BC. The first 69 weeks, 483 years, lead us exactly to AD 27, when Jesus was baptized and began his public ministry. What divine precision! This is not coincidence. It is a sovereign God revealing his plan across the centuries. But here's the mystery that has intrigued scholars and awakened watchful hearts. The prophecy mentions 70 weeks, but only 69 seem to have been fulfilled. The final week, the last 7 years, appears to have been separated from the rest, creating a prophetic gap that many believe we are living in now. This final week is related to monumental events, including the confirmation of a covenant, the cessation of sacrifice, and the abomination of desolation. Look at events in the Middle East today, the attempts at peace agreements, the conflicts around the Temple Mount, the geopolitical alliances forming and reforming. Aren't we witnessing the preparations for this final week? The Jewish people themselves have returned to their land after nearly 2,000 years of dispersion, a necessary prerequisite for the final prophecies involving Israel and Jerusalem to be fulfilled. What makes this prophecy even more relevant for us today is that Jesus himself referenced it in his prophetic sermon on the Mount of Olives. He said, "So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel," Matthew 24:15. Jesus was pointing to future events, connecting them directly to Daniel's prophecies and indicating that his followers should be alert to these signs. And now, the question we must seriously consider: if we are indeed living in the moments leading up to this final prophetic week, what does that mean for our lives, our priorities, and our spiritual preparation? Events are accelerating. The pieces of the prophetic puzzle are coming together, and time may be shorter than we imagine. Are you ready for what's coming next? Daniel presents us with a shadowy figure who would emerge in the last days. A charismatic and powerful leader Daniel describes as the little horn and the king who will do as he pleases. This figure, known as the Antichrist, is not merely a villain from ancient stories, but a prophesied presence who will arise in our contemporary world, unifying political, economic, and religious power in ways never seen before in human history. What makes this prophecy so relevant to our day is the global landscape we are witnessing. A world desperate for solutions, longing for a leader who can bring peace and stability amidst growing chaos. Daniel predicted that this leader, by peace, will destroy many, Daniel 8:25, not through open war, but through deceptive peace agreements. Notice how today there is a worldwide outcry for unity, peace, and security, creating the perfect environment for the rise of such a figure. Modern technology, for the first time in history, makes it possible to literally fulfill prophecies about a global system of control. Daniel describes this leader as controlling commerce and demanding universal allegiance. Today we see the development of digital currencies, biometric identification systems, and global surveillance infrastructures that could easily be used to implement the system described in Scripture. What was impossible just a few decades ago is now within reach. Particularly alarming is how Daniel describes this leader as changing times and laws. Daniel 7:25. Challenging established moral standards and reshaping society according to his own vision. Aren't we seeing precisely this today? Traditional values rapidly abandoned, absolute truths questioned, and a new morality being imposed globally. The way is being prepared before our eyes. The deception will be so sophisticated that Jesus warned that if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. Matthew 24:24. This will not be an obvious villain, but someone who presents himself as the answer to humanity's problems, offering solutions that will seem good and necessary. The appeal will be irresistible to those not grounded in truth. Global peace, economic prosperity, religious unity, and solutions to crises like climate change and regional conflicts. And here is the crucial point. We are witnessing the convergence. of all necessary conditions for the rise of this figure. Global structures are in place, technology is available, global instability is increasing, and there is a growing desire for a strong leader who can fix our broken world. The question is not if this prophecy will be fulfilled, but how close we are to its complete fulfillment. Can you discern the signs? But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. These words from Daniel 12:4 describe with impressive precision the world we live in today. Think about it. For thousands of years, human knowledge advanced at a slow pace, but in recent decades, we have witnessed an explosion of information and technology unprecedented in human history. The numbers are simply astounding. Human knowledge now doubles every 12 hours, whereas at the start of the 20th century, it took 100 years to double. In just one day, we generate more data than all of humanity produced from the beginning of civilization up to the year 2000. This dizzying acceleration is not just an interesting development, it's the literal fulfillment of a prophecy written over 2,500 years ago. And consider the second part of the prophecy. Many shall run to and fro. Until the 19th century, methods of transportation stayed basically the same for millennia. Horses, carriages, sailing ships. Now we can circle the globe in a matter of hours. Billions of people travel annually between continents, something unimaginable in previous generations. This unprecedented global mobility is exactly what Daniel foretold for the time of the end. What makes this prophecy even more impressive is its specificity. Daniel didn't just say there would be changes or advancements, he pointed precisely to the two developments that most characterize our modern era, the explosion of knowledge and global mobility. How could he have known, except by divine revelation, that these would be the defining markers of our time? This explosion of knowledge is not just quantitative, but also qualitative, fundamentally transforming how we live. Artificial intelligence now performs tasks that previously required human intelligence. Genetic editing lets us rewrite the code of life. The internet connects billions of people instantly. We are witnessing not just growth, but a radical transformation that is reshaping the very human experience. And here is the critical question. Why did God specifically tie this increase in knowledge to the time of the end? Could it be because these technologies would, for the first time in history, create the conditions necessary for the fulfillment of other end times prophecies? We now have the technological capability for a global economic system, Revelation 13, instant worldwide communication, Revelation 11, and unprecedented surveillance, Daniel 7. The stage is set as never before. Are you perceiving the convergence? Amid the visions of rising and falling empires, Daniel received a revelation that transcends all earthly kingdoms. The promise of an eternal kingdom that will never be destroyed. In chapter 2, after describing the succession of world empires, Daniel declares, "In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." Daniel 2:44. This is not just another change of power. It is the ultimate divine intervention in human history. As the kingdoms of this world disintegrate, before our eyes, with powerful nations facing internal crises, unstable economies, and weak leadership, the promise of the eternal kingdom stands as an unwavering beacon of hope. Have you ever wondered why so many systems that seemed invincible are now trembling at their foundations? What if this is exactly what was prophesied? The beginning of the collapse that precedes the greatest transformation the world has ever seen? What makes this prophecy especially electrifying for our generation is that Daniel connects it directly to the final events of human history. He describes this kingdom as being established after a period of tribulation such as never was. Since there was a nation, Daniel 12:1. Look around. The conflicts are intensifying, geopolitical tensions are on the rise, and crises are multiplying on a global scale. Are we not witnessing the first tremors preceding the final prophetic earthquake? Daniel goes further and connects the establishment of this kingdom to the coming of the Son of Man, a clear reference to the Messiah, which Jesus applied to himself. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. Daniel 7:14. This is not a kingdom established by human conquest or political maneuvering. It is the direct and supernatural intervention of God in history. But here is the mystery that few perceive. Before this kingdom is fully manifested, Daniel describes a period when the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom. Daniel 7:18. There is a call for the faithful not to wait passively, but to participate actively in the preparation for this coming kingdom. Have you ever considered that you might have been placed in this specific generation at this very moment in history to play a role in the unfolding of this divine plan? And now, the revelation that changes everything. What if we are closer to this decisive moment than we imagine? Daniel 12:11-12 mentions a specific period of 1,290 days, followed by a special blessing for those who reach 1,335 days. These numbers have intrigued scholars for centuries, but as other prophecies are fulfilled before our eyes, should we not be watchful, recognizing that the divine countdown timer may be in its final moments? What would you do differently if you knew you were living in the last moments before the greatest transformation in human history? After revealing visions of world empires, apocalyptic conflicts, and the coming kingdom, Daniel received a personal instruction that deeply resonates in our days. But you, Daniel, go your way till the end, for you shall rest and will arise to your inheritance at the end of the days. Daniel 12:13. This was not just a word for Daniel. It is a call for all who live in the times of these prophetic fulfillments. A call not to fear, but to intentional and vigilant preparation for the monumental events unfolding before our eyes. What does it mean to be truly prepared in times like these? Daniel offers us a powerful model. Even while serving in the court of pagan kings, he maintained unwavering integrity and devotion. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. Daniel 1:8. In a world where biblical values are increasingly marginalized and ridiculed, we are called to a similar resolution, a firm decision to remain faithful, regardless of cultural pressures or personal consequences. Have you felt the growing tension between your faith and the demands of this rapidly changing world? The preparation that Daniel teaches us goes far beyond intellectual knowledge of prophecy. It involves a life of consistent and deep prayer. 3 times a day, even under threat of death, Daniel knelt in prayer. Daniel 6:10. His intimacy with God was not a casual hobby, but the defining center of his existence. It was through this intimate connection that he received understanding of the times and wisdom to navigate turbulent waters. In a world saturated with information but starved for true wisdom, how much time do you dedicate daily to seeking God's face? The book of Daniel also reveals that spiritual discernment will be crucial in the final days. The wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Daniel 12:10. In an age of widespread misinformation, conspiracy theories, and sophisticated deception, the ability to discern truth from lies will literally become a matter of spiritual life or death. The lines between truth and falsehood, good and evil, are becoming increasingly blurred, just as prophesied. Have you cultivated the discernment needed for these challenging times? Perhaps the most surprising aspect of the preparation Daniel teaches us is moral courage in the face of persecution. His contemporaries, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, preferred to face the fiery furnace rather than compromise their worship. Daniel faced the lion's den for his faithfulness in prayer. Scripture makes it clear that in the last days, those who remain faithful will face growing opposition. Jesus warned, "You will be hated by all nations because of my name." Matthew 24:9. Have you seriously considered the cost of authentic discipleship in the rapidly approaching days? And here is the revelation that few are willing to face. What if the greatest danger in the end times is not external persecution, but internal deception? Jesus repeatedly warned about false prophets and false Christs who would deceive many. Daniel foresaw a leader who, by peace, will destroy many. The most dangerous deception will not come as an obvious threat, but disguised as light, progress, and unity. The line between truth and falsehood is becoming so thin that only those deeply rooted in the Word and guided by the Spirit will be able to discern. The question is not just whether you will survive the coming times, but whether you will maintain your spiritual integrity through them. Are you prepared not only to withstand persecution, but to detect and reject the most sophisticated deception this world has ever seen? This was the journey through the extraordinary prophecies of Daniel, but in reality, we are only at the beginning of the awakening that these revelations are meant to produce in our lives. The 5 prophecies we explored are not mere historical curiosities or futuristic speculations. They are living signs, pulsing in our present world, calling the watchful to rise up and prepare for the most decisive moments in human history. Think for a moment about the astonishing accuracy with which Daniel's prophecies have been fulfilled over the centuries. Empires have risen and fallen exactly as foretold. The Messiah appeared precisely at the prophesied time. Knowledge has exploded, and global mobility has become a reality in our generation. These are not random coincidences. They are the unfolding of a meticulous divine plan, revealing that the God who knows the end from the beginning is in absolute control, even when the world seems to be falling apart. What makes these prophecies truly transformative is that they were not given just to satisfy our curiosity about the future, but to awaken a response in us today. Daniel didn't just foresee events. He lived a life of unwavering integrity, persistent prayer, and extraordinary courage in the face of opposition. His example calls us not only to know the signs of the times, but to become the kind of people who will remain faithful when those signs intensify. Do you now realize why this knowledge is so crucial for our days? Why the enemy works tirelessly to distract, confuse, and lull asleep those who should be most alert? Biblical prophecy is not a hobby for religious enthusiasts. It is a wake-up call to a generation that has been divinely positioned to witness the climax of human history and God's ultimate intervention in the affairs of this world. And now, the final question that must echo in your heart. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue living as if everything will remain the same indefinitely? Or will you allow these prophetic revelations to awaken in you a new urgency, a new commitment, a new readiness for the extraordinary times we are living in? The curtains of history are closing, the stage is set, and the final events are beginning to unfold. Will you be merely a passive spectator or an active participant in the grand drama of redemption? After contemplating these 5 biblical prophecies that are being fulfilled now, we can no longer live as before. If this content has awakened your spirit and opened your eyes to the signs of the times, show it by leaving your like and sharing it with those who need to wake up. And if you are truly committed to remaining vigilant in these decisive days, leave the phrase, "I am watching the signs," in the comments. This will not only strengthen your own resolve, but encourage others to join the watchful ones who discern the times. Our journey of revelation does not end here. The same God who revealed the future to Daniel miraculously protected his faithful servants through the centuries. Did you know that the Apostle John, the same one who wrote the book of Revelation, faced a terrible death by immersion in boiling oil, but miraculously survived? This extraordinary testimony of divine protection in times of persecution is exactly what we need to hear as we prepare for the days ahead. Click on the card that now appears on your screen or the link in the description to watch The Miracle of John, How He Faced Boiling Oil, an impressive story that will strengthen your faith and courage. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to receive more content that illuminates the scriptures and prepares your heart for the extraordinary times in which we live. Remember, we are not called merely to observe the fulfillment of prophecies, but to be active participants in the divine plan for these last days. Until the next video, remain steadfast and vigilant